friends, welcome back. Today we're in an old part of the county in West Melbourne, Florida, and a house that was built in 1950. The customer has a water heater that needs to be replaced, but this isn't just like any old water heater. Stick around and check out what happens. All right, like I said, this house was built in 1950. It is on well water, and since I've been here, I've gone ahead and cut the valves off back there at the well system and turn the water off to the heater. Now we got to drain the water out of the system. Let's go in and take a look and see what we're getting ourselves into. And have a look at this. This water heater has been in here since the house was built in 1950. It's an old CE Ready Hot. 14 gallon. The cold line comes in underneath, galvanized. The electrical is back up in here. Oh boy, there's a hot line coming in. What have we got ourselves into today? Oh geez. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is the oldest water heater I've ever had to replace, and I've got my work cut out for me. I have to get in here. I'm going to show you how tight of an area it is to try to disconnect this power and check it. This thing runs off of 120 volts. That's it, a single breaker. And it's 14 gallons, but there's a lot involved. Wish me luck. Oh, look how close that electrical is to the wall. I have to try to get these screws off of here. Oh, they're turning. I've got to make sure the power is completely turned off this. Okay, that's one. I think I might get it. Here we go. Oh, come on. I don't think you can see up inside of there. All right, get our testers, make sure we got no power. Like I said, it's only 120. Yikes. Ooh, nice and easy. Might not be 220 or 240, but that's still, if it's hot, it'll give you a shock. Okay, we're good. All right, so I have the pump going on the heater and it's draining slowly. It is draining. There is no pressure relief valve to give it some air to flow better. So I may have to go back inside and get back in that little tight spot by where the hot line is coming in and cut that. See if we can release a little bit more water pressure from that heater so it'll drain a little better. All right, y'all heard me say this a lot of times. It's easier to break stuff than it is to fix it in these old houses. I was able to get back there in that little cut in the wall and break loose that hot water line, which is 1/2 inch copper. So it's flowing a little easier and the heater is draining better. I'm surprised at all that this thing is draining, seeing it's been in here originally since 1950. And we got galvanized still to play with. All right, so the heater drained as far as I could get it. Remember I told you the cold water supply is coming in underneath the heater. So if I cut this 1/2 inch copper right here, there's water still in the line. It's gonna get all over. So we need to get a shop vac ready, all that stuff. And once we get the heater out of here, then we can make sense of what we're gonna do next with all this galvanized garbage. Oh boy, I'm nervous. I got a shop vac ready, turn it on. I know there's gonna be some more water coming out of here. This is the last connection holding this thing in there. Almost there. Yep, here comes some water. Let's get the shop vac on. It's a CPVC cap, but it fits just long enough so we can get this thing outside. Wish us luck. Here we go. This is gonna be a little tricky because look, they cut the wall out to slide that thing in. That's disconnected, and so is that line back in there, and the electric. So now all we need to do is get this thing snatched out of here. I know there's still water up in this thing. We got to get this thing out of here though. Oh. Oh. There she goes. I'm gonna have to dump this over on its side to get around those pipes. Crap. Without ruining everything. What? I'm not worried about that. We're gonna fix all that.
Yeah.
Just pick it up enough. We can get it out on that. I don't want the. Oh, ooh, that piece broke. You got anywhere to hold on?
Yeah.
There we go. Pull it out. Set it down on the. Oh, wow. Oh, there she is, the old CE Ready Hot. I feel as though we all need to have a moment of silence and remembrance of this old girl. 71 years old, still heating, just started leaking. All right, now with all the excitement of getting the old hot water heater out of here, will you take a look at the mess I'm working with? That's gonna be the cold line. I have to continue that over there into that area, okay? Because that's cold to the rest of the house. And then we got the hot water that's sitting up there that we cut. I have to try to tackle and get this out of here without snapping anything. But if you look, I've got some unions that are right here. We may end up trying the best we can to utilize that, because when you try taking one of these galvanized pipes apart that are this old, most of the time the threads snap off inside the fittings. All right, we're going to start by trying to cut this mess right here out of here with PVC. Just get everything out of here so we have room to work. And then we'll put it all back together whatever way it takes. Okay, check this out. Oh, baby, just like butter. I need to play the lotto tonight. Oh, yes. And the threads are still good. Oh, goodness. That is an absolute beautiful thing. Now, listen, I don't like leaving galvanized in this house. It was built in 1950. If I can tie onto that thing, then that's how we're going to go here. Even though the inside of galvanized pipes swell up, and she's not gonna have a lot of water pressure in here. But you know what, we're not out here to repipe a 1950s house. We're out here to replace a water heater. Let me show you what the inside of that old galvanized pipe looks like. Oh yeah, she's all closed up. Oh well, one day they'll have a repipe, but not today. All right, let's see if we can set this new water heater at least in place so we can gauge what we're doing. Have a look at how we turned out here. Hooked into the galvanized, we had our shutoff valve, our drain. Now I'm going to show you a host of different things that you guys are going to argue with me about, but I'm going to explain why. up to the cold. There was no expansion tank, there was no pan, none of that stuff. All right, back up to the hot side, back over to where we had it. We had to kind of jimmy it a little bit to get it just right. That's a nice looking thing. Cool. So we have the water back onto the house. Now a couple things I want to remind you of. We're on well water here, and the house has been piped up to the house from the pump in galvanized pipe. And there's not very much pressure whatsoever going on here. The reason why I didn't put a thermal expansion tank on is there's no room to actually put one. Pan would have got in my way with all this stuff, so we set these up on top of bricks. Not to mention the fact that there's no interior drain for me to run a pan off into an interior room of the house. I was told to take the old one out and put it back the best way I could, and as close as I could to the old one, and that's what we got here. So now we're filling the heater full of water and testing for leaks and getting out of here. Rated for 120 volts. All right, so the water heater that we just installed is not just a heater, but the breaker panel is rated for 120. Somebody please explain this to me. 71-year-old heater is rated at 230 volts. Been in here 71 years. How is that possible that this thing lasted and even ran off of 230 volts on a 120 breaker? That's going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching the video. I'm sure the plumbing police are going to come out in droves on this one in the comments. Yes, there was a lot of things that weren't up to spec, but there wasn't a single thing in that house that was up to code. The electrical, everything in that house was out of code. I could have spent days and days and days up in that house trying to bring up things to code, but it just wasn't happening. Sometimes being a plumber, you just have to do what you got to do to make things happen. And that was the case today with this old heater. I had a lot of fun doing it. It took a while. Got any questions, comments? I'm sure you do. Leave them down below. And don't forget to keep plumbing.